I don't know how some of you guys don't get like a headache from the constant incessant gaslighting from all of our media. I don't just mean mainstream media. I mean most media, including the so-called independent media. Many of you know that there are ongoing protests on Columbia University campuses over the last week against the funding of that university of the Israeli regime. And in response to that protest, which has included many Jewish faculty and protesters that are in support of Palestinian freedom, there have been arrests, multiple arrests, and the threat of calling in the National Guard. Some of these lunatics are actually saying that the National Guard should come in. We want to call in the National Guard against peaceful protests on Columbia campuses. And for what? They have First Amendment rights that are protected under our Constitution to protest. And the protest has been peaceful, but you know what's happened? All of our media, all of our Congress, and the fucking president have put out statements condemning the protests. And why are they condemning the protests? Not because anything violent happened, not because there were any calls for violence, but because people were chanting Palestinian liberation slogans. That's the part I need to key you guys into that you need to remember and understand. When you hear in the media, or you hear Biden's administration, or you hear politicians putting out statements on Twitter going, "We condemn this harassment and blah, 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 blah." There have been no calls for violence. When they say that, they're talking about people chanting about Palestinian freedom. That's what they do. They conflate that. It's the same shit that they did to the professors of the universities they ended up getting fired. It conflated chants of Palestinian liberation with threats and violence and got those professors to step down. So please be aware when you hear stuff like that, whether it's from our media or from politicians putting out statements or from the White House, because they are lying. It is taking the chance of liberation and conflating those with threats. They are lying and they know it. And people have First Amendment rights and they have the right to chant those freedom slogans, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not. And if you think that protesters, including Jewish protesters for peace, protesting on behalf of Palestinian freedom should be arrested or that the National Guard should be called in, you are a fascist. And one last thing, the fact that this is what they're focusing on, that the media is putting so much attention on this, that our Congress people are putting so much attention to condemn these protesters and their right to free speech, and that our president is putting out statements out about it, all of them are deplorable because they've had nothing to say about all the people that were just bombed in Rafah. 22 people were killed in Rafah, including 18 children. They've had nothing to say about a mass grave being discovered under a hospital just this week. And they have had nothing to say about the countless Congress people in our Congress, as well as countless Israeli officials who have come out and straight up made genocidal claims against Palestinians. Nothing to say about that. Nothing to say about that. But you're really upset, offended, and concerned about a couple students getting uncomfortable at a pro-freedom protest. That's what needs to be top of the news. And the message that they're sending, both implicit and explicit, people like Tapper Jake over on CNN doing fucking PR for all the cry bullies on this Columbia College campus, instead of doing his fucking job, the implication is that Palestinian lives don't matter. They don't matter because it's not worth it to the White House or to any of the moron talking heads over on our fucking corporate trash ass media to actually report on what's really happening or things that are really important or to give weight to some of the things that these people in Congress and in the Likud have said. Oh no, that would be reporting. Instead, let's just bring Tapper Jake out again so he can talk about how uncomfortable some of the students are. Breaking news, a bunch of college students wouldn't leave the campus. You're a clown, Tapper Jake.